So let's talk about camera movement. Now, as a storyboard artist, to make your work more dynamic, just adding that extra movement of the camera could be so essential to a scene, for the psychology of a scene, the type of emotion you want to express and you want the audience to feel in that scene. Knowing the various camera movements will really add that extra oomph to your storyboard. So the first camera movement we're going to talk about is the pan. The pan is basically turning your camera from left to right, from right to left, right? Now the pan shot, you don't actually move the entire body of the camera. You don't pick it up and turn it. You just turn it on its axis so that it follows the subject. In this example, you could see we have a character standing in front of the camera. So it demonstrates how the camera would just turn on its axis. The various drawings will show you that, okay, this is where the camera is turning. Now, how would that look in a viewfinder? So we have the character, the beginning point of the character. He is in the middle of the viewfinder. And we want to turn the camera to the left. So as we turn the camera, you're going to draw the character moving more and more towards the right of the screen because we're turning the camera left. And if we're turning the camera to the right in the diagram here, the character will seem being moved more and more to the left of the composition. So this is how you would probably approach drawing a pan. While you're drawing the movement of the camera, the subject will move in the opposite direction of the camera. So it would create that illusion of a pan shot. Remember, we're not actually using live action, so we're not going to actually use our real camera, but we have to simulate the movement of the camera in the pan shot. Now, what if we have, let's say, a moving subject and we want to pan with that moving subject? It's gonna look something like this. So let's say we have a character running in a scene, running towards the camera, and then you want to follow the action of the character as he runs past the camera and keeps going. Now, this is basically how you would draw to simulate that. When you're drawing, you won't actually draw the character in the frame like this to simulate it. I just drew all the stages of the character running in the scene so you would see how I approach it. Now in this shot, you have a 2-point perspective. It's because you have the character coming from one direction, and then as you pan the camera, it would create another point on the horizon line. So that would be a second point of perspective on the horizon line. So it creates 2 points, right? So you would draw the character running towards you, and the closest point of the character towards the camera, it would be more of like a side view, and then as the character runs away, you would see the back. So when you carry this into like editing program and you actually simulate the movement of the camera, and each frame of the character appears as the camera pans, you will simulate a panning shot and a character running through the scene. So I'm going to show you an example of how I do this now. It's basically just like this. So this is a storyboard that I did that incorporated this type of simulation of a pan shot. We have 2 characters coming up an escalator in a train station, and they're gonna walk past the camera. Now, as you can see, I simulate the shot by drawing each sequence as they are. And at the beginning, you can see that there's 1 point perspective here, and as the camera turns, you get another point of perspective of them walking away. So this is an example of that simulating a pan shot of moving characters. So now we're going to talk about the tilting of the camera. So basically, tilting is the vertical movement, like up or down of the camera. We're still not actually moving the body of the camera from one place to the next, but we're tilting it on the axis, the y-axis to be exact. We're tilting it up or we're tilting it down. So in this diagram here, you could see the camera is facing this character, and we are showing the range of the tilt of the camera, right? Now let's go and look at it in the viewfinder. So when we're drawing a tilt, you're gonna have to draw some distortion in the tilt to simulate the movement of the camera. Now, because the viewfinder can only see a certain range, and when we're drawing it, we want to simulate how the camera sees things. So you would have to draw with a tilt. You're going to have to draw in 3-point perspective with slight distortion, and you draw this distortion so when you put it into your editing software and you actually do the tilt movement in the software, it won't look weird. It will look more accurate to real life, because the distortion is how the camera would actually see it, and it will actually look normal because there are various points of perspective moving up and then down through the character. So you're gonna have to simulate those points of perspective in one drawing. So you're gonna have 3 points of perspective. Let's look at another example with this tree, right? So let's say we wanted to draw a simulation of a tilt shot. We're gonna have to draw it just as we did with the previous character. We're gonna have to draw it with 3-point perspective with the distortion of the various points of perspective, because as we move the camera, we're going to be changing perspective, and we don't want to draw something with just 1-point perspective, and as we pan, we get like we don't get the effect that we want. We want to create that effect that the camera is here, but it's tilting, it's not moving. This is the effect we want, a tilted movement, and we're gonna have to draw the subjects like this for your storyboard to create that effect. So here is a small example of the tilt shot in action. So this is a castle I drew with the distortion elements applied with the 3-point perspective, and as you can see, as the camera tilts down from the top of the castle down to the bottom of the castle, you don't really notice the distortion in the drawing because the viewfinder is only able to see so much. Now, if you view the drawing, the full drawing, you will notice the distortion and it would seem unrealistic. But because the way the camera tilts, this is a nice way of simulating that tilting camera. Now, the dolly shot, also known as the push-in or push-out, is a shot where you physically moving the camera closer or further away from your subject. So the dolly shot is a way of combining 2 shots without having to cut in between shots. For example, a dolly shot could begin as a wide shot and then end with a medium or close-up shot. Now with the zoom shot, the difference between this and the dolly shot is that you don't physically move the camera. A zoom is an optical change of the focal length, and what that means, in other words, is basically magnification. With a zoom shot, your subject becomes larger in the frame and your background becomes compressed. Zoom shots remove the sense of depth in your frame. Okay guys, for the assignment for this class, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be a little live action kind of assignment. So what I want you to do is, if you have a camera phone or a digital camera, what I want you to do is just go out and shoot using these camera movements that we've just learned about. I want you to use the pan shot, the tilt shot, the zoom, and the dolly, and just shoot different things. Just be creative and just get used to the different types of camera movement, and let them become part of your vocabulary in telling stories. So have fun with this assignment and just be creative. See you in the next class, guys. Thanks for watching.